Forge the Main Cleric. I've actually got a lot of experience playing this one. I played a Forge the Main Cleric for about a little over 2 years, I want to say, in a campaign. Played Sir Hammond, the Warforged Forge the Main Cleric, and it was a blast. It was originally with the, it was the Warforged as it appeared in the Unearthed Arcana, so they got a plus to their AC, equal to their proficiency bonus, and on top of all the stuff that the Forge the Main gets, it was just absurd. My AC was like a 27, or I think there was a way that I got it up to 30 at one point. I mean, nothing could hit me, but yeah. So the Forge the Main. I think there's a bit of a misconception whenever people are first coming into D&D, and I hear this a lot whenever people are first making their characters, that whenever you're making a cleric, you're going to be a heal bot, and like all you do is heal, and yada yada yada. The Forge the Main is here to show you that that is not what clerics are about. Clerics can be, I honestly feel like clerics are, they're my favorite class in 5th edition. They have the most versatile spell casting whenever it comes to the spells that you know. If you don't know, you can essentially learn any spell from the cleric spell list. You prepare it as a part of a long rest, so you can swap your spells out a lot easier than like wizard can, and yeah. Cleric is just one of my favorites. So what's interesting about the Forge the Main, we actually have, if we look at the old Unearthed Arcana, we can see that there is one thing that wizards changed about them, and it looks really minor. It's just an interesting thing to take note of. So if you look at the old Unearthed Arcana, it's actually in their spell list. So in their Forge the Main spells, see right here at 1st level you actually get access to shield. What Wizards of the Coast found out was if you get shield on top of everything else that this thing is going to do to enhance your armor class, you are so freaking hard to hit unless something is making you do a saving throw, you know? Basically, like, you were never able to get hit as a Forge the Main Cleric. It was insane. So shield, if you don't know, you can use your reaction to give yourself +5 to your armor class. It's crazy. It's only for 1 attack, but good God, it was so hard to hit Forge the Main Clerics from the Unearthed Arcana. So they changed shield. If we're going over here into their domain spells, they changed shield over to identify. I think it's a good change overall, not only just to deal with the issues that shield brought up, but identify, especially at some tables, is a really potent spell early on. You know, you're talking about getting magic items but not really knowing what they can do. You know, you can, I think some DMs, and I like to do this myself, I like to run magic items as a little bit more mysterious at my tables, where you can get a magic item, but unless you like either cast Identify, do a pretty high Arcana check, or go and get it identified, you don't know if it's cursed, you don't know what properties it has. You might try and use it, but you never know. So Identify, all it really does is it tells you whether or not it needs to be attuned, what the magical properties of it are, and the particular thing is, it does not tell you if the item is cursed. I don't really mind Identify. I know some DMs have a problem with it messing with their world building. I think, especially at 1st level, a 1st level spell slot's a pretty big resource to blow just to figure out what properties an item has, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. They get Searing Smite, so they get to do some more fire damage here at 1st level. Is that concentration? Yeah, it is concentration. So, frontlining with it, it's like, once you take damage, you're gonna have to make those concentration checks. Heat Metal. Love Heat Metal. You make something insanely white hot. I feel, the fun thing about the Forge the Main spells, I feel like I have a story tied to like each one of these spells at some point in the campaign I played Sir Hammond in. Because with Heat Metal especially, since he was a Warforged, I just Heat Metal on my own body, and we had gotten up to such a high point later on where Forge the Main gets immunity to fire damage, so I wasn't having to make that concentration check in order to maintain the spell. I just Heat Metaled myself and then started grappling people, and just doing 2d8 just to grapple is, oh my god, that was so much fun. Magic weapon, +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls. Cool. Elemental weapon, yep, 1d4 damage of the chosen type. Protection from energy, this works very well with something you're going to get at 3rd level. You're going to be able to give yourself 2 different damage type resistances, so that's killer. Fabricate, this is where Forge Domain really starts to get its identity in its spell list. You convert raw materials into products of the same material. For example, you can fabricate a wooden bridge from a clump of trees, a rope from a patch of hemp, clothes from flax or wool. Choose the raw materials that you can see within range. You can fabricate a large or smaller object, given a sufficient quantity of material. If you're working with metal, yada yada yada. Creatures or magic items can't be created or transmuted by this spell. You also can't use it to create items that ordinarily require a high degree of craftsmanship. So 5-foot cubes contained within a 10-foot cube or 8 connected 5-foot cubes. The way, the story I remember with Fabricate, and this was such a great moment. We were in I want to say it was like a desert mountain kind of area, and we had gotten chased by some bullets. And we were up pretty high on this mountain, and it was in between 2 different peaks, and there was a bridge going across it, like a naturally formed land bridge. And I hadn't really used Fabricate a lot, and then I thought about it in this situation where we were getting chased, and then I looked at Tyler, the DM at the time, and I was like, okay, I'm readying a spell. And he looks at me, and Tyler has this look where he's just like, what? You know? And I waited for 2 of the bullets to get on the bridge, and I cast Fabricate, and completely removed the bridge and put it into the mountains, and immediately killed 2 or 3 of the bullets. That was such a, oh man, that was a big brain moment right there. Wall of Fire, just great, and immediately what you're going to be thinking of for Forge Domain Cleric, very fitting. Animate Objects, you can choose up to 10 non-magical objects within range that are not being worn or carried. You essentially get to, it's like conjure, it's not like conjure woodland beings in that you can get fae or anything like that, but Animate Objects can immediately get you 10 other creatures fighting on your behalf. It's, oh, so good. I think it's a huge, it's either I don't think it's gargantuan. I think it gets up to huge. I had used this at one point to essentially make a wrecking ball. Yeah, it was just like a giant face of a goblin. I'm trying to remember what we were even doing, and I just sent it through the front door of this mansion, and oh man, it was, yeah, I just love every one of these spells. Creation, you pull with the shadowy material. Essentially what creation does is it gives you access to a non-magical material for whatever purposes you might think of. It will return to its base form, or I think it just might dissolve. I had to pull this up because I needed a little bit more clarity on this. So with creation, let me move my face down. Okay, with creation, the actual material itself will dissipate after the duration that's listed right here. You can't use it for spell casting, as in you couldn't create, this is in here, gems. You couldn't just create a diamond and then use it for Revivify because it'll cause the spell to fail. Yeah, so there are limitations to this spell, but creative players can figure out all kinds of ways to make creation just insanely good. I love this spell. Now, onto their features, bonus proficiencies. When you choose this domain at first level, you gain proficiency with heavy armor and smith's tools. Cool. Smith's tools are going to be used for all kinds of roleplay moments. It's just very fitting that they would get it. Heavy armor, all the cleric domains that get access to heavy armor, they're going to be your frontliners. That's another reason I was initially trying to roll up. I knew that we needed a tank, and I knew that we needed some heals, because we had a fighter, a rogue, I want to say a sorcerer at the time. And I was like, alright, someone's got to heal. I might as well do it. I was going to roll up a paladin, and then I saw the Forge domain coming up in an Unearthed Arcana, and I was like, this can work. Blessing of the Forge. At first level, you gain the ability to imbue magic into a weapon or armor. Until the end of a long rest, you can touch one non-magical object that is a suit of armor or simple or martial weapon. Notice right here, the reason it states suit of armor, they did not want this to work with shields. So, yeah, there might be a reason for that, and I'm sure there is, because Jeremy Crawford even made a point to come out and state that this did not work with shields. That was intentional in the design of it. And I don't really know why. I don't know. I'm curious. I'd love to know why. Until the end of your next long rest, until you die, the object becomes a magic item. granting a +1 bonus to AC if it's armor, or a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls if it's a weapon. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Because it's a magic item, it would stop working in, say, like a Beholder's anti-magic icon. So their Channel Divinity, I think, is probably the most versatile of all the Channel Divinities. Usually the Channel Divinity features that clerics get are kind of hyper-focused, and this, however, you can see this coming into play for, like, all kinds of different scenarios. You conduct an hour-long ritual that crafts a non-magical item that must include some metal, a simple or martial weapon, a suit of armor, 10 pieces of ammunition, a set of tools, or another metal object. The creation is completed at the end of the hour, coalescing in an unoccupied space of your choice on the surface within 5 feet of you. The thing you create can be something that is worth no more than 100 gold pieces. As part of this ritual, you must lay out metal, which can include coins, with a value equal to the creation. The metal irretrievably, you can't retrieve it, is what that means, coalesces and transforms into the creation at the ritual's end, magically forming even non-metal parts of the creation. The ritual can create a duplicate of a non-magical item that contains metal, such as a key, if you possess the original during the ritual. So, create an exact duplicate, like it says here, of a key. Say that you, let's say in this scenario, you're trying to get a key off of a guard, but you don't want to you want to make sure that that guard doesn't know that his keys are missing. This is perfect for that scenario. Say that your entire party is disarmed. You could probably do, like, create 1 or 2 weapons in this time, in that situation, which can be completely game-changing for what all you're trying to do. There is so much that you can get out of this feature. I actually used it a few times. I want to say once I used Artisans Blessing just to make a model of an airship that our party was using, and I gave it to a kid, and it was enough to get me a point of inspiration, and it was just a great, like, story building moment. Yeah, I love all the aspects of the Forge Domain Cleric. Soul of the Forge, starting at 6th level, your Mastery of the Forge grants you special abilities. Right here is where I feel personally that the Forge Domain Cleric, probably second to Circle of the Moon Druid, this is quite possibly the best tank in the game. You gain resistance to fire damage. While wearing heavy armor, you gain a +1 bonus to AC. That is substantial. That is really, really big. Not only that, you gain resistance to one of the most common damage types in the game. Now, Tiefling is going to get this. The red and gold Dragonborn are going to get this. I believe it's gold. And that's why I made a distinction in my race and class synergy analysis table. I felt that if you had that as a redundancy to where you weren't able to get this feature, I felt like it was enough of a redundancy here that is this significant, is something that made it knock down a peg for me. Divine Strike, starting out at 8th level, you gain the ability to infuse your weapons with strikes of fiery power of the Forge. Once on each of your turns, whenever you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause that attack to deal an extra 1d8 fire damage to the target. When you reach 14th level, the extra damage increases to 2d8. This is great for, I know once you're getting around this tier of play, a lot of creatures are going to be resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage if they're not already immune to it. This is more damage you're going to be able to dish out. Cleric, of course, you've already got your spells that you can still continue to do damage, like radiant damage and whatnot. However, this fire damage, it's another damage type that you can deal without having to cast a spell to do it. One of the better damage types to get with a Divine Strike. This is just fantastic. Yeah. Saint of Forge and Fire, at 17th level, your blessed affinity with fire and metal becomes more powerful. You gain immunity to fire damage. You can now swim in lava. Like, that is insanely good. While you're wearing heavy armor, you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks. Oh my god. Like, this whole subclass, I mean, is all about getting in there, tanking, throwing fire everywhere. Like, this is such a fun class to play. I know in the 2 years I played it, there were times whenever I had flirted around with multi-classing or Times I had considered, maybe should I take a level in Barbarian in order to get some of the frontliney stuff, or a level in Fighter in order to get, like, Action Surge. Honestly, I never wanted to move away from Cleric. As many as the multi-class builds that I had tried, this was just the most perfect. I freaking love this subclass. I think it's an S tier. I think it does everything that you would want it to do, and just excels at being quite possibly the best cleric tank class in the game. Let me know what you guys think, though, down in the comments below. I know this is going to be a pretty short one. Yeah, Forged the main cleric. I can't say enough about this class. Anyways, if this is your first time here, I do a lot of D&D content. Try and do class reviews, my recent class synergy analysis stuff. I'm also working on a few projects of my own. I'm a content writer for the DMs Guild, so go check me out over there. Other than that, like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, guys, hope to see you in the next one.